Morning. Is that yes? So you have my cheat sheet in there. Yes.
So can I go like this? Yes. Good morning. Don't touch that. Right. Good morning, everybody. And welcome to our service from the Unitarian Society of Florence and Northampton. I'm Barbara Smith. I serve on the stewardship team, and I also help to coordinate our cooking for Cathedral in the Night. If you are new or returning after a time away, we're very glad to see you. Please feel free to fill out a blue welcome card, which you can put in the offering plate later in the service. There is an online version also that you'll find through the link in the chat. We'll put you on our email list, and you can receive information about all that we do here. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. We remember that this part of the Connecticut Valley where we live is the unceded homeland of the Pocumtuck, Nonotuck, and Western Nipmuc peoples. Our values and principles remind us to acknowledge our responsibility to confront the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our history, even as we also affirm the legacies that inspire us. We have drawing materials and other ways to occupy hands on the tables in the back. Restrooms are downstairs and are reached through one of these doors. You can either take the stairs or an elevator, and please return the same way. We stream our services online, and there is a camera that looks down on the Great Hall and shows people's heads. If you prefer not to be seen on camera, we suggest that you sit in one of the 4 or 5 rows in the back of the hall. We're here to celebrate, to reflect, and to support one another. It is good to be together. And now Alan Dorman has an announcement.
Good morning. I'm Alan Dorman, and I'm a youth advisor and a member of the House and Property Committee. As Bill Diamond said last week, our campaign to fund heat pumps to replace all of our gas furnaces has ended, and we have raised a little over $132,000. Thank you. That means we will completely fund the heat pump project, and we'll be able sometime in the next year to replace our gas water heater and stove. We met on Thursday of this week with Delta, the Westfield company that will install our new heating system. They plan to begin work outside very soon, and will be installing equipment outside the building in what has been on our east side garden. If anyone would like some of the perennials that are planted there, please help yourself. We'll see what we can do about re-landscaping in the spring. We will get a final schedule from Delta this week and don't expect to experience any disruptions to our regular Sunday activities and very little disruption to what happens during the week. Thank you all again for your enthusiasm and support for this project. And now we will begin our service.
Our opening words are from Alice Walker. Love, if it is love, never goes away. It is embedded in us like seams of gold in the earth, waiting for light, waiting to be struck.
Now I invite you to rise in body or spirit. For our chalice lighting, the words are printed in your order of meeting and they're also on the screen. Deep calls unto deep, joy unto joy, light unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, peace, and hope. And let us pledge to be bearers of the light wherever we are. And now you can remain standing and join in singing, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And we're going to do it. This is the last time. This is our 5th Sunday singing this hymn. So we'll sing it through once, and then we're going to do it in parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, it's the wrong one. What are we singing? Where are we going? Yeah, ignore this.
feel like that was the perfect way to embody that song. Just a lot of mystery. Good morning. If anybody would like to come closer to see the real live book, I invite you to do so. The pictures will also be projected up on our screen. And our book this morning is called Love by Matt de la Peña. And he talks about a lot of different kinds of love, but I think some will resonate with you, and hopefully it'll get you thinking about all the different ways love exists in your life. In the beginning, there is light and two wide-eyed figures standing near the foot of your bed. And the sound of their voices is love. A cab driver plays Love softly on his radio while you bounce and back with the bumps of the city. And everything smells new, and it smells like life. Love, too, is the smell of crashing waves and a train whistling blindly in the distance. And each night, the sky above your trailer turns the color of love. I don't know if anybody saw the sky last night, but it's the color of love. In a crowded concrete park, you toddle toward summer sprinklers while older kids skip rope and run up the slide, and soon you are running among them. And the echo of your laughter is love. And around here, maybe that's the splash park at Look Park. On the night the fire alarm blares, you're pulled from sleep and whisked into the street, where a quiet old lady is pointing to the sky. Stars shine long after they've flamed out, she tells you, and the shine they shine is with love. But it's not only stars that flame out, you discover. It's summers, too, and friendships and people. And in time, you learn to recognize a love overlooked, a love that wakes at dawn and rides to work on the bus, a slice of burnt toast that tastes like love. And it's love in each deep crease of your grandfather's face as he lowers himself onto an overturned bucket to fish. And it's love in the rustling leaves of gnarled trees lined behind the flower fields. And it's love in the made-up stories your uncles tell in the backyard between wild horseshoe throws. And the man in rags outside the subway station plays love notes that lift into the sky like tiny beacons of light. And the face staring back in the bathroom mirror, this too is love. So when the time comes for you to set off on your own, heavy winds will sweep past your building and great gray clouds will congregate above. Your loved ones will stand there like puddles beneath their umbrellas, holding you tight and kissing you and wishing you luck. But it won't be luck you'll leave with, because you'll have love. You'll have love, love, love.
Now it's time for us to greet one another. You can turn around and wave to everyone in the back, who is really everyone on Zoom, and then turn and say hello to your neighbor. to see you. Hi, Sally. Sally. Hi, Ginny. Evelyn, Ann. Hello, Gail. Hi, John. Sarah, great to see you. Peg, great to see you. Who else is there? John W. Hi, John. Georgia. Rich, Allison. Great to see you all. Hi, Wendla. And Laura. Nikki, nice to see you. Sheila, Kim, Larry. So many people. It's great to see you all. I'm glad you're here. Now we'll move on. And now it's time to sing out everyone who is going to religious education activities. No, that's the wrong song. I'm sorry, Michelle. Let's sing it. It's right on the screen, everybody. See? Okay. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. And now, we have a very short hymn. It's called Be Ours a Religion, and it was written by Theodore Parker, who was a 19th century transcendentalist, fanatic, brave, courageous abolitionist, and also a Unitarian minister in West Roxbury. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing. It's number 1058 in the Teal Hymnal. What's love got to do with it? What's love but a secondhand emotion? If you are of a certain age, you associate those questions with a song that was written by Graham Lyle and Terry Britton and sung by the amazing Tina Turner. Emily Dickinson, as long as we're going to go back to the 19th century, thought love had a lot to do with it. She wrote this: "Love is anterior to life, posterior to death, initial of creation, and the exponent of breath." And to paraphrase her, she said, love precedes life, endures beyond death, is the spark of the creation, and what multiplies breath. So, come on. It's one of those mornings. Unbelievable. In January of 2021, the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Association shared a reflection on love in connection with the launch of the work by a group of volunteers whom they had appointed to propose revisions to the formulation of the UUA's guiding purposes and values. And that was the so-called Article 2 Commission. So appointing and forming that commission and giving them some direction, the board members asked themselves, what is it that lies behind all the statements of principles that we agree to as our common associational points of covenant? And the board decided that our deepest common theological grounding and value is love. Now, to reach that conclusion, they could have reached back to the Universalist side of our heritage. Those were 18th and 19th century Christian heretics who proclaimed that God was love and that no one was damned to hell for eternity. Or they might have cited Theodore Parker or other transcendentalists like Margaret O'Sully Fuller or Ralph Waldo Emerson. The transcendentalists wrote about felt experience as a source of our knowledge and being. And they, in their thinking about this, drew in part on a late 18th, early 19th century German philosopher named Friedrich Schleiermacher. Schleiermacher decided that sensory experiences that were felt as emotions, like wonder and awe and love, preceded and were the impetus for the religious impulse. And there's a contemporary UU theologian, a woman named Tandeka, who teaches at, I believe she teaches now at Meadville Lombard, which is one of our theological schools. And she's also done a lot of work on Schleiermacher and trying to pull his insights forward. The board could also have referred to two long-standing covenants that are still recited in about a quarter of UU churches across the country. The earlier one comes from a man named James Vila Blake, who was a Unitarian minister who lived from 1842 to 1925. And if you've been in other UU congregations, you may have heard this one or some version of it. It goes, "Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another." So the UUA board could have mentioned all of that, but they didn't. Instead, what they drew on was more recent: the power of the Standing on the Side of Love campaign, the abundance in our hymnals of favorite hymns that celebrate the power of love, and a report from the early 2000s which found that Unitarian Universalists ranked loving and mature love as values more highly than did survey respondents from other groups, religious and non-religious. And again, they said this, they said, "We assert that our deepest common theological grounding and value is love." And they went on to say, "We find it peeking through the words of the currently existing principles. We see it in our insistence on the worth and dignity of every person. We see it in the call for demanding and embodying justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We hear it in our urging of acceptance of one another and our support for each person's spiritual growth. We discern an accountable love in our call for a responsible search for truth and meaning. Our affirmation of the right of conscience and the right of every individual to participating in shaping the institutions that govern them displays a deep respect and love for every person. We hold up the goal of a peaceful, free, and just world community as an expression of what love can and should bring into being. And we believe that our call to respect the interdependent web that we are part of is an articulation of love for all that is and our own place and role in that web. We respond to the call of love because it is our common theological core. It is what can and does motivate us, and it illuminates our deepest commitments to one another." So that came from the UUA board almost 3 years ago. And the proposed revisions to the bylaws approved by the board and given preliminary approval by the General Assembly, that's the association, the meeting of all congregations, did put love at the center of Unitarian Universalist values. And asserting that Unitarian Universalists have a common theological core is, for some, controversial. So Kate and I hope that what's shared here today will inspire your own thinking about whether love might, in fact, be at the foundation of your own core beliefs, your own faith. Now I invite you to rise again in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire.
I also have the Social Justice Minute today. Thank you. The Performance Project works with youth and young adults in Springfield and Holyoke to create theater and visual art through multi-generational collaborations, and they are committed to artistic training, intergenerational mentoring, and leadership development. We are committed to developing relationships with some of the organizations we support through our Share the Plate program. The Performance Project was one of our recipients in the past year, and this coming Saturday, our racial justice team is sponsoring a performance of their show, Mother Tongue, downstairs in our social room. You'll see flyers about it in the front and the back. It is a powerful show that incorporates dance, music, and stories with dialogue in English and the native languages of its first-generation immigrant performers. It is appropriate for teenagers and adults. The Performance Project is excited to be expanding this show's reach into Northampton, and we hope many of you will come. Almost half of the tickets are already sold, so we encourage you to buy yours today. There is a link to the ticket site in this week's Sunday Times, and if you're having trouble with access, which we hear a few people did, please email the racial justice team and one of us will help you out. The email is rjt@gmail.com. We hope you'll come on Saturday. Oh, is that uunorthampton.com? Okay, that was incorrectly put. rjt@uunorthampton.com. We hope you'll see you on Saturday.
So every week we take an offering in the house to support the good work we do within this society and in the good work of organizations outside our walls. All of our offering proceeds are split 50-50 with organizations that are nominated by members of the congregation and then selected by our coordinating council. One of the organizations we're currently supporting is ANERA, Near East Aid Organization, a Near East Aid organization that was founded in 1968. They work with staff and partners in the West Bank, Gaza, Lebanon, and Jordan to mobilize resources for immediate emergency relief and for sustainable long-term health, education, and economic development. And you can imagine what they are doing right now. You don't have to imagine it. You can actually visit their website for daily reports of their current work in all of the areas that are traumatized by what's happening in that area today. Again, it's anera.org. Our morning offering will now be given and very, very gratefully received. So the acts of terror and war in Israel and its neighbors, the suffering of millions of Palestinians and Israelis, fear of what may come next, including escalation, all of this is on our minds and hearts this morning. Aurora Levins Morales describes herself as a writer, artist, historian, teacher, and mentor, and also as an activist, a healer, and a revolutionary. One of her current projects is writing a new Jewish liturgy that centers Jews of color. And this is an excerpt of a Passover poem that she wrote called Red Sea. We cannot cross until we carry each other. All of us refugees, all of us prophets. No more taking turns on history's wheel, trying to collect old debts no one can pay. The sea will not open that way. This time, that country is what we promise each other. Our rage pressed cheek to cheek, until tears flood the space between, and until There are no enemies left. Because this time no one will be left to drown. And all of us must be chosen. We'll take some time together in silence.
Before I begin, I'd like to thank Eleanor Johnson. She's the person who suggested Anera to us as a Share the Plate organization, but also she and Janet and I had a conversation about love that helped formulate what I have to say today, and I understand that Eleanor's words that came out of that conversation will be the basis for our service on November 12th. If you've been to the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture since its opening in 2016, you may remember the singular object that has come to be known as Ashley's sack. A simple cloth bag, it was given by a woman named Rose to her child Ashley as they were torn apart under the inhumane and yet state-supported system of American chattel slavery. Decades later, Ashley's granddaughter, Ruth, embroidered onto the sack the words that had been passed down through her family. Molly, if you could put up the slide. Thanks. My great-grandmother Rose, mother of Ashley, gave her this sack when she was sold at age 9 in South Carolina. It held a tattered dress, 3 handfuls of pecans, a braid of Rose's hair. Told her, it be filled with my love always. She never saw her again. Ashley is my grandmother. Ruth Middleton, 1921. This object, which can now be seen in the newly opened International African American Museum in Charleston, South Carolina, has a well-deserved reputation for bringing viewers to tears. It certainly had and continues to have this effect on me. The historian Tia Miles took Ashley's sack as the jumping off point for her book, All That She Carried, The Journey of Ashley's Sack, a Black Family Keepsake. Miles' book went on to receive the 2021 National Book Award for Nonfiction and also the 2022 Massachusetts Book Award. It's an amazing piece of scholarship which I wholeheartedly recommend to you on its merits as a beautifully written historical monograph. What sticks with me most, however, is what the book and this object taught me, or perhaps reminded me, or opened me up to, or liberated me to feel about love. That love might not just have been what helped Rose endure this loss, but also that Rose's love helped Ashley survive. That love might be at the root of my faith about the way I want to be in this world. Tia Miles starts the introduction to her book about Ashley's sack by saying, "We forget that love is revolutionary." The word, cute and overused in American culture, can feel devoid of spirit, a dead letter, suitable only for easy exchange on social media platforms. But love does carry profound meanings. It indicates the radical realignment of social life. To love is to turn away from the prioritization of the ego, or even one's particular party or tribe, to give oneself for another, to transfigure the narrow I into the expansive you or we. This four-letter word asks of us then one of the most difficult tasks in life, decentering the self for the good of another. This is a task for which we need exemplars, especially in our divisive times. By loving, Rose refused to accept the tenets of her time, that people could be treated as property, that wealth was a greater value than honor, that some lives had no worth beyond capital and gain. Hers is just one telling example of refusal from the collective experience of enslaved Black women who practiced love and preserved life when all hope seemed lost. I feel more often of late that all hope seems lost. So in the face of all that is going wrong around us, how can I, like Rose, refuse to accept the tenets of my time? When I was in college and considering majoring in religious studies, I undertook some months of Bible study with an evangelical friend. It was a clarifying moment in my own faith journey when she challenged me to name the power that would induce people to act righteously if they did not believe in God. For her, only fear of God's judgment and God's mercy kept human beings from doing evil. I didn't have the words of Unitarian Universalism yet, but the answer which made sense to me then and continues to guide me was that this very absence of any ultimate authority frees us to affirmatively choose to do good, to work for a better world, to persist in the face of daunting odds. Mine was and still largely is a faith of rational action, a faith that asks me to yoke myself to other humans in common purpose, driven by my own search for truth and meaning. But something in these times is asking me, maybe even demanding of me, that I look deeper than even my deepest held ideas about our capacity to think ourselves out of this mess. My tears in the presence of Ashley's sack suggest to me that this deeper, embodied part of my faith might be love. Rose's sustaining love speaks to me as a parent, of course. This parental love fortifies. It is the love of the madres and the abuelas who continue to march and organize to return the disappeared in my beloved Argentina. It is the love of parents torn from their children on our southern border and borders around the world. It is the love of parents fighting for medical care for their trans children. This is love that starts somewhere personal, but gives us the hope to envision a better future, to struggle, to organize. It is the core feeling that can keep us going, even when hope is hard to find. This is the sort of fortifying love that I pray I will never need to exercise on behalf of my own children. And yet, Ashley's sack suggests to me that approaching the world with a sack or a toolkit or a determination filled with my love always might be exactly what I need to do right now, always. Reflecting on the power of the love ethic of the civil rights movement, the Black social critic, author, and educator Bell Hooks wrote that the moment we choose to love, we begin to move against domination, against oppression. The moment we choose to love, we begin to move towards freedom, to act in ways that liberate ourselves and others. That action is the testimony of love as the practice of freedom. Applying this vision to love in our present struggles, emergent strategist and Afrofuturist Adrienne Marie Brown suggests, if the goal was to increase the love rather than winning or dominating a constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through the tactical eyes of war, but through eyes of love. We would see that there's no such thing as a blank canvas, an empty land, or a new idea, but everywhere there is complex, ancient, fertile ground full of potential. I see this love in action all around me, even when we don't call it by that name. I see it in my friend Gabe's social media posts about his work in harm reduction, reaching out to people with addictions on the streets of Holyoke, helping people just stay alive, treating them like humans in need of love rather than problems to be fixed. I see this love in our congregation's willingness to take the risk of offering sanctuary and the blessings that it brought us. I see this love in calls for restorative justice rather than punishment. Shortly after I read Ashley's sack and began to consider the place of love in my values, I was reminded that love was what motivated the person who is my first and perhaps most powerful example of a change maker for social justice. When I was growing up in Boston's South End, Mel King was a giant among our many community leaders. If there was a cause that we believed in, Mel King was on the front lines, stopping an expressway from demolishing the neighborhood, fighting for housing to be built instead of parking lots, building African-American political power and a rainbow coalition in a city whose white establishment resisted both, and more. To me, he was a serious and somewhat imposing figure, actually say very imposing. He towered over my father, and my father towered over almost everyone else. He was a man of few words, except an eloquent exhortation of a crowd. He was a pragmatic strategist. To me, he was an almost mythic example of how to make good trouble. Molly, if you could put up the other slide. When he died last spring, many of those who eulogized him reminded us that Mel's constant refrain, prominent in his poetry and undergirding his activism, was, "Love is the question and the answer." This reminder of his foundation in love opened up a new and humanizing connection to his legacy for me. I hear him telling me that this legacy of community, connection, and change is also mine. That sustaining the tactics, the strategy, the organizing, love is the question and the answer. Love is what can keep us going when all else fails. It is, as Alice Walker said in our opening words, embedded in us like seams of gold in the earth, waiting for light, waiting to be struck. And as Aurora Levins Morales said, that is because this time no one will be left to drown, and all of us must be chosen.
I think our final hymn is number 95. There is more love somewhere. Yep, see? Please rise and body your spirit. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There's more somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more None of our private worlds is big enough for us to live a wholesome life in. We need the wider world of joy and wonder, purpose and venture, toil and tears. What are we, any of us, until we draw together and find the meaning of our lives in one another, dissolving our fears in each other's courage, making music together, and lighting torches to guide us through the dark. We belong together. Let our hearts be open, and what we would receive from others, let us give. For what is given remains to bless the giver, when what is given is love. Go in peace.